brother. How you doing, man? Good.
I'm good. Thanks for taking your time out of your schedule to talk to me. I will get right to it and not waste any time. So, the second Jericho cruise, it's sold out. Tell me how you feel about that.
Funny, how could I not feel anything but amazing about it? I think the cool thing was last year we sold out kind of right on the wire, but there was a lot of discounts and a lot of upgrades and that sort of stuff. It was sold out, but more of like a technical knockout. Whereas this one, we sold out completely 4 months earlier. So it just goes to show that there's a lot of people that were super excited about the cruise last year, and there's a lot of people that were probably very disappointed that didn't go and had a lot of FOMO once the word got out about how much fun it really was. So I think that's just a testament to how exciting the cruise was and how much fun everybody had. The fact that it was sold out basically on word of mouth from last year.
It was much quicker than last year, so you obviously did something right with that first cruise. What have you got planned for this one to kind of avoid that second album blues kind of thing? What are your plans?
Well, I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think last year was a real kind of just a feeling out process. I mean, how do you do a rock and wrestling cruise? And did I book the right amount of bands? Did I book the right amount of current stars and Hall of Famers? And I think it was a real great mix, so I just did more of the same. Picked 8 to 10 great bands and put together a great deal with AEW to continue the ball rolling and having an amazing wrestling company on the ship. Bringing Ric Flair on board was kind of the school of all twos last year. I think Mick Foley was probably the biggest single name that I might have had.
Ric
contacted
Flair.
Rick and he agreed. And... Sorry, go ahead.
Ric Flair was a big get for you for this year. What is Ric Flair going to be doing? Is it kind of a Q&A, or if you could just explain a little bit about Ric Flair and all that?
We'll do a live talk as Jericho, and then Rick will be involved in a few other festivities that we haven't announced yet. But there'll be plenty of Ric Flair activity and involvement for sure on the ship.
And you also, obviously, you mentioned AEW, which is a massive part of your life now, as well as the wrestling industry in general. What will we be seeing from AEW on the cruise? There are some rumours that we might get an episode of Dynamite on the boat. I don't know if you can say anything about that or say anything more about AEW's involvement.
Well, I mean, that's something that you're just going to have to wait and see. I think the fact that we're setting sail January 20th to 24th, so there's going to have to be a program on the Wednesday somehow, and we're not confirming or denying that fact.
No, of course. So obviously you are the current AEW champion at the moment. What is it like for you to still be able to do things like the cruise, aside from being kind of the world champion of a major wrestling company? I mean, it must be quite a lot of work, but in other companies you might not be able to do both at the same time. So what's that like?
Say that one more time?
Obviously you're the world champion of AEW at the moment, and you're also obviously organising this big cruise. You've got other stuff going on as well. What's it like being able to kind of continue your side projects while still being the top champion in a promotion like AEW?
Well, it's something that I've been pretty much doing my whole career is having a multitude of projects that I believe in and that I'm interested in. And, the cruise was no easy feat. I mean, it took us 3 years to get it kind of signed, sealed, and delivered. So it was a long-term project for me that I really wanted to put a lot of time into and make it great. So, and that's kind of the equivalent of everything that I do, whether it's AEW or Fozzy or Talk is Jericho. And now Chris Jericho's Rock and Rusty Razor. It's just another branch of the stuff that I do to give the friends of Jericho cool things to think about. So it takes a lot of work, but I've done a really good job of it. It's been delegating responsibility, hooking up with great partners to make sure that anything that I can't do, I'm not good at. I've got great guys to help kind of wrap up that side of things. So I think that's the secret. Just make sure you have a good team of people And it all starts at the top with the passion that I have for everything that I do and wanting to make it not just good, but make it great. When I had 2,000 people last year tell me they had the vacation of a lifetime, that's exactly what I wanted and what I desired. And this year we've got 2,200 people that are hoping for the exact same thing, and I will accept nothing less from my...
Oh, you cut out a little bit there, Chris. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like the cruise is going to be really good. Obviously, it is sold out, but is there a way for people to still get on it? If they, you know, maybe they think, I should have bought a ticket sooner. How do I get on the cruise? Like, what options are there?
You can sign up for the waiting list at ChrisJerichoCruise.com, and what that means is it's sold out, but sometimes people don't pay the last little bit, or they can't make it, or little junior has homework to do, or whatever it may be. So it's just a matter of signing up for the waiting list, and as cabins come available, first come, first serve for the ones that are remaining. So it's kind of a cool deal because there's been some people already that signed up for the waiting list that thought, I don't have a chance, and then suddenly, bingo, the heavens open up and they get a shot to go. So that's the best way to do it at this point in time.
And obviously, with it selling out this year, and you said sell out last year on a technicality, but let's call it a sellout. Let's say what it is. There must be plans for a third cruise, surely.
Absolutely. I mean, my goal is always to make this an annual destination vacation that that people. I noticed it when we did the Kiss Cruise, when Fozzy played the Kiss Cruise. It was very much a community of people that were coming every year, no matter what. Almost like a summer camp sort of thing. Like, we're going on the cruise. Here we go. And I want to start that type of reaction. And like I said, that type of community. It's okay. And so once we kind of get that ball rolling, people will know what to expect, and they'll sign up every year, no matter who's on the cruise or what. Maybe before there's any big announcements. I want the vibe of it to be the same every time, where you're going to have a great time no matter what.
That sounds good. I will keep an eye out for the announcement for the third one. I would like to move kind of towards AEW again, if I can, Chris, and ask you a couple of questions on that. So the first one would be, obviously, you were quite public in defense of Marko Stunt in kind of in light of people who feel like he's not the right build or the right size for the industry. And obviously you kind of compared him to Rey Mysterio. I just wondered if you could elaborate on your thoughts on people like Marko Stunt and their place in the wrestling industry.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing I've heard my whole career. I mean, when I first came into business at 19, everyone said I was too small, and then maybe at the time I was, but I had to make it on my charisma and on my desire, on my passion, on my abilities. And then a few years later, when Rey Mysterio came in, I was there. The first time I met him, I was yelling at Love Machine Art Bar for bringing a 13-year-old kid in the room where we're drinking and smoking joints. And he's like, no, he's 18 years old. He's a wrestler. I was like, are you kidding me? So it's the same every few years. What's small, what's big, to me, over is over. And if you're saying somebody doesn't belong in the business because they're too small, well, that's the same thing they said to me, same thing they said to Rey Mysterio. And my response is, would you rather see a 6'5", 280-pound muscle head that is boring and has no personality, or would you rather see a 5'2", fireball that has some charisma to him that can do a lot of great stuff? And listen, this is show business. You know what I'm saying? It's like you go watch a movie and Yoda spins through the air and kills, a bunch of Empire soldiers, that are 5 times his size. I mean, you cheer and yell and scream. So I think people need to settle down and relax about what's not believable, what's believable. Wrestling is a show. It's show business. It always has been. It always will be. And whoever attracts the most people, the most viewers to that show will have a job. Will Marko Stunt be a future world champion like Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio? I don't know. Who am I to judge when they told me the same thing 27, 28, 29 years ago?
I like the idea of Marko Stunt being AEW's Yoda. Hopefully that will catch on. Maybe it will. I don't know. One of the other kind of big online things that we're seeing a lot at the moment is a kind of back and forth between AEW talent and talent from WWE and NXT. Kind of the most high-profile one with Seth Rollins and Kenny Omega having a little bit of a bickering online. What are your thoughts on that kind of back and forth between the two companies? And do you think that they're a positive thing for both companies in general?
Well, sure. I mean, anytime there's an option and gives a chance for people to take sides, I mean, it's exciting. And am I going to be involved? I don't argue with people on Twitter. I just say it what I mean to people's faces, or I say it, the one or two things that I said kind of anti-WWE weren't really planned at all. They just kind of happened due to what was going on with what I was doing in the ring. So if those guys want to fight and bicker, as you said, then go for it. It just creates more passion, shall we say, and more relevance and more of a battle, I guess, more excitement, all of those sort of things. And if people want to get involved that way and get behind it, oh, did you hear what he said? Then more power to them.
Yeah, because we were one of the main websites responsible for Omega's comments about NXT being, not quite up there, and that blew up. It was massive. It definitely does get the attention of the fans. But would you say that it's AEW should maybe focus more on the things that make it special? So obviously it's got a lot of bright talent that weren't given a chance elsewhere and are getting the spotlight now, and maybe AEW could focus more on people like that, or what do you think?
I don't really care. I mean, that's up to you guys to decide. What AEW should focus on is putting on the best show possible, and if people are talking shit and you want to respond to it, well, that's fine too, because so far the 4 weeks of television we've had have been great.
Yep.
The ratings have been awesome. The demo has been insanely great.
And
whatever. So,
yeah.
to me, it's like you can analyze it and say, well, you should do this, you should do that. All we should do is continue to do what we're doing to remain a very popular show that's in competition with nobody. I mean, we didn't start this war, if that's what you want to call it. We didn't start this competition. We're just doing our own thing. And listen, if there's contenders at the door kind of knocking and trying to get into our world, and that's fine. But to me, the most important thing is, what are we doing right as a company? What are we doing wrong as a company? What can we do better? Once again, this is a company with 4 weeks of television under our belt. So it's not like we have 10 years of experience or 8 years of experience or whatever to get everybody on the same page. So of course there's going to be some growing pains, but so far, the numbers tell the tale of what's going on. So whether you want to say something about it or don't want to say something about it, or concentrate on something else or concentrate on this, it's like either way we're doing really, really well, and I think it's going to continue to do well. So say what you want to say. I don't
yeah, absolutely. Obviously you mentioned about the numbers and particularly the ratings in that prime demographic that you would want. Can you tell me a little bit about what the feeling is backstage about how AEW is going, and how happy everyone is going forward?
Well, I mean, everybody is happy, but once again, we all realize there's always things that have gone really well, and there's things that we can do better. And that's, everybody's patting each other on the back and congratulations. Now, what do we do for next week, and how do we keep the ball rolling for the next few shows, and staying on top of what we're doing. So this is now a weekly vibe, a weekly task. It's not like it was when we first started, where we had a pay-per-view, and then 3 months later we have another show, and then there's a show here and a show there. This is every single Wednesday, so it's not you don't rest on your laurels, and it's very grueling. It's grueling to put on weekly TV. But I can say this from my experience: it's a lot of fun doing it the AEW way, which is a lot less unscripted. A lot more unscripted, shall we say, a lot less scripted, and it's just more kind of flying by the seat of your pants and guerrilla warfare and Wild West sort of atmosphere, and it makes it really fun. And I think that's one of the reasons why the product has been so well received, is because people can see the difference. It's not as regimented as other shows are, and that's by design. And listen, whether that's going to make us huge or whether that's going to end the company in a month, it's the way we just chose to do things. It's different, and right now it's working. So there's no reason to change anything. Just to continue building upon, the efforts and the shows that we've done so far.
I think I certainly agree with that, because especially the segment that you were involved in on the last episode that spawned the "I've Got a Ticket" t-shirt. certainly come across as extremely fun, really well put together. I wouldn't have believed that was unscripted or unplanned. It just worked so well. So that kind of brings me to you and Cody at Full Gear. Are you looking forward to wrestling someone like Cody, who's obviously he's a big player in the company, he's a big figure in the wrestling industry, it's for a major title. What are your thoughts going into that?
Well, I mean, he's a big figure in the company and a big figure in the industry, but he's not bigger than I am in the company's industry. So, yeah, I mean, Cody's great. He's doing a great job. He's one of the most popular performers in the company right now, and that's why there's a lot of matches. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get himself over, and so do I. So I think that's one of the reasons why in the first 4 weeks, Cody's probably one of the most talked about, if not the most talked about angle on the show, is because you got two guys that know exactly what to do with the TV time we have to get over to the max. It's not necessarily what happens in the ring; it's what happens outside the ring, and we've been building it perfectly. So it's going to be huge. It's going to be a huge match for us. Basically, our first official pay-per-view, the first official defense of the AEW Championship. With the Golden Child entitled Cody Rhodes against Le Champion, Chris Jericho. So I think we've built the story amazingly. Like you mentioned last week on the show, was one of my favorite things that I've ever done. I think next to the Festival of Friendship, it's probably the best thing I've been involved with in the last 3 or 4 years outside the ring. Not as far as not having a match.
Yeah.
Obviously we knew what we were doing, but the exact lines and every little beat and every little twitch was not rehearsed and planned out, and that's why it worked. So I think you're going to have a lot more of that between Jericho and Cody, and I know we're both excited about the match and excited. We still have another couple of weeks to continue to build this thing, so we're on a roll, and it's a good time to be involved with this, and it's a good time to be sampling and becoming an AEW hardcore fan, for sure.
You mentioned Le Champion. Are there any plans to bring out a T-shirt for that? Because I know that at the moment you have a knack for saying things that become T-shirts.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I just kind of look at the social media presence, see what people are excited about, and I've got a ticket. Seemed to be a thing that everyone was really into, so let's put out a shirt, see how it does, and if you sell 1,000 units in a week, then you move on to the next one. I think the Champion is one that you would spend some time with. I think the Bubbly shirts are still super popular. Those are the ones that are in the arenas. Those are the ones that are moving very well. So you don't want to step on that. The ticket one is just kind of a sidebar.
Yeah.
That we know is not going to be a massive seller for weeks, months to come. I mean, it might be, but I think something like the little bit of the Bubbly is, and then when that one starts going down, then we'll look at doing another major shirt like the Champion.
Did you have any idea how big a little bit of the Bubbly was going to become? Kind of, tell me your thoughts when you saw that taking off.
No, of course not. Of course not. You never know what people are going to get into and what people get excited about. It's just one of those things. I said it almost in passing out of the corner of my eyes, so to speak. And then, like I said, you watch what people are saying and doing, and the videos that people were making for that were just completely ridiculous. There's so many of them and so creative. It was like, you never know. People just super got into that, and it became, this huge catchphrase. And, it's like asking Metallica if they do Enter Sandman would be the biggest song of the generation. I mean, you'll never know for sure what's going to hit with people and what people are going to get into, but I don't analyze it. I just go with it. I'm smart enough to see, okay, this is a thing. Let's promote this. Let's keep it moving and see how far we can go with it. And a little bit of the Bubbly, it became, one of those late career #1 hits for Chris Jericho, just like the list was, or it, or any of those things. You just say it, and when people get excited about it and latch upon it, then you continue with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I especially all of the memes that people were putting up, all of the videos, they were hilarious, and to think that it all came from just kind of that news of the title being lost, you winning the title, and then the title being lost. Can you tell me more about that? Like
it wasn't lost. It was stolen.
It was stolen. I hate when people say it was
lost. I've been wrestling for 29 years. I've had 50 titles everywhere, in the ghettos of Mexico on. I've never misplaced or lost a belt for 3 seconds. So the belt was stolen, and I still don't know exactly what happened. If you had another hour, I could tell you the whole story, but it's just one of those things. It just adds to the legend of the title that it was stolen 24 hours after it was first won, and then found on the side of the road by a driver. You drive down the highway, drive down the street every day. You pull over when you see nondescript velvet bags lying in the middle of the road.
I probably wouldn't.
Well, nobody would, because it's
Exactly.
bullshit. It's not a real story. So I don't know exactly what happened, and it's almost like it was the Wicker Man, where the whole town was involved in this conspiracy. But like I said, gave us some great ammunition for some great social media coverage and some buzz, and nothing else. It's like Bruno Sammartino in '75 when somebody stole a title from the dressing room. Shit happens sometimes, and it's not the fact that it happened, it's what you do with it when it does happen, and we made something very great out of it.
Well, that is one of the things that was very impressive with AEW's response to that, was just how quickly they turned it into something that the fans could follow, the fans could...
Well, once again, it wasn't they, it was me. I mean, that's the great thing about AEW. When somebody has an idea, I don't have to ask permission, I just go with it. You know, I knew that we had to acknowledge it, I knew we had to cut it off in the past and own it and make it into something great, and that's kind of, like I said, that's what we did. And, I think in light of that circumstance, how weird it was, how ridiculous it was, we got some really great stuff out of it. And that's kind of what professionals do. You take the circumstance that you're given and you work with it and you make it great.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you a couple of more things, kind of steering away from AEW slightly.
I only got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, okay, I'll ask you one more question then. The Randy Orton Instagram post where he kind of teased a bunch of superstars potentially leaving WWE and joining AEW. Obviously, I know that you can't say anything about whether they will or not, but would you be happy to have someone like Randy Orton, Elias, the Revival, in AEW in the future if that was to happen?
Well, I mean, I can't say anything about it because I don't know anything about it. I mean, no one's calling me to tell me about these things. But I know this: nobody's getting out of WWE, especially Randy Orton, because unless he's very, very committed to saying, I don't care if you pay me $20 gazillion, I'm leaving. That's not what he's doing. I mean, obviously, Vince is going to pay millions and millions of dollars to not have Randy Orton go. And there's some other guys that, like, we're not trying to be old school TNA where anybody that wants to leave WWE comes to AEW. That's not what we're looking to do. Obviously, there's certain guys like a John Moxley that when they become available, and Moxley was one of those guys who's like, I'm out of here. I don't care what you pay me. Didn't even look at the offer they gave him. That's because he was done and ready to go. If you're using AEW to make more money off Vince, go for it. That's great too. But it's not like we're taking everybody that's going to leave WWE to come to AEW, because there's guys that are working WWE now that got huge raises that if they were on the indie circuit wouldn't be making $500 a night. So, you know, the point is that Vince just doesn't want anybody to leave WWE because it looks like an exodus if they do and makes us look even cooler. We do things our way. We've got a great roster of guys, and if somebody becomes available that really wants to be with us and we think that they fit our vibe, then we'll take them. It doesn't mean they're going to be getting millions and millions of dollars to come, because once again, that's not what we're doing. I think we've assembled an awesome roster with at least 10 to 12 potential main eventers, and we have to build all those guys up first, then build up all the mid-card guys, then build up all the opening match guys to create stars. That's what we have to do, quickly, create stars.
Yeah.
And once we do that, we'll be even higher up the food chain than we are now. But if a Randy Orton became available and said, I'm leaving, I don't care what, then I'm sure we'd be very interested in talking with him, and it could do great stuff with him. And I'll tell you what, he'd probably be more over with us in a month than he has in the last 10 years in WWE.
Well, that's one of the things, just so I know you need to go. Obviously, people like Jake Hager, he's a presence in AEW. You know, he's something important, and he maybe wasn't necessarily important elsewhere. So you are doing really good things with the talent you've got. Is there anyone that maybe we haven't seen yet that you think we should keep our eye on for the future?
Well, you've seen them all. I mean, a guy like MJF, I think Hager's got a huge upside. He always has. They just didn't see it in WWE. Like I said, MJF is another guy that's going to be a huge star with us. I think Darby Allin is another one that we put some focus into. We have to get to know Hangman Page. We have to get to know Kenny Omega. We have to get to know the Young Bucks more. There's just a lot of work that we have to do because there's a huge fan base of people that haven't seen them before. And that's okay because they've never been on national TV, but now that they are, it's up to us to build them and to continue to grow and learn who they are as characters and people as performers. And that's the thing. We've done so well just in 4 weeks. Just wait and see what happens 4 weeks from now and 4 weeks after that. So I gotta go, dude. I gotta catch a plane.
Yeah, Chris, thank you very much. Obviously, we'll be able to see everyone on AEW on the cruise. You can sign up to the waiting list. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you,
man. Thank you.